In this discussion today, we will be discussing about two important IPOs, right? Initial public offer. So whenever stock market is at an all-time high and when there is a lot of momentum happening in the market, always there will be a flow of IPOs, right? And even in this week, we have almost like many IPOs which are lined up. But as an informed or as an intelligent investor, we do not invest in all the IPOs, right? We do not invest in all the IPOs. And I'll not be also discussing or focusing more on certain IPOs which are not important for us. But today, we have one IPO which is closing, which I feel even for a longer term, it is good to invest. And apart from that, another IPO, even though it's not a very significant IPO or not in a very good segment where we can look at it for a longer time, but yes, the IPO demands attention because of the small IPO, right? When the demand is very high and the supply is less, automatically the price will move up. And because of that, the GMP, gray market premium, is very high, right? Gray market premium is very high. So today we will be discussing both of these IPOs, and the first IPO which we are going to discuss is closing today. So whoever are interested or whoever feel it's worth applying after you do your due diligence or after you study about it, then can apply from your family members accounts as well, right? So let's directly jump into the discussion. Let me start sharing my screen. So today in this discussion, we'll discuss about two important IPOs, which is Inox India Limited IPO, which is closing today, and Motisons Jewelers Limited, which is a small IPO, and there is a lot of demand for it, right? There is a lot of demand for it. So first of all, if you look, right, if you look into it, Inox India Limited, it is basically in the supply and manufacturing of cryogenic equipment, right? Cryogenic equipment. So whoever do not know about the power of cryogenics, right? And someone who are from pharma or even healthcare or even chemical related would understand it forms a very niche segment, right? It is a very niche segment wherein at a very lower temperature, right? Somewhere like minus 150 degrees like that, with which can withstand those kind of a temperature, they'll be manufacturing tanks related to that, right? So they are mostly into the gas equipment, and it is a futuristic segment, right? Futuristic segment, because cryogenics is one of the very important niche which is applicable for the future generations with the kind of a technological advancement or with the kind of a improvement. It forms a very very important segment for us to focus on, right? And if you see, the major products which they are into is into industrial gases, very important, liquefied natural gases, and cryoscientific related equipment. And the segments, if you see, right, the kind of a contribution they have, the cryoscientific is something they are getting into more exposure related, and the revenue bifurcation is very very interesting, right? Is very interesting. And as we look into it, year on year there is a consistent growth, right? There is a consistent growth, and with the kind of a concentration which the government or the kind of a funding going into this business is very very important for us to focus. After that, if you look at major advantages, sir, what makes this company more unique, right? First, moat. What is moat? As Warren Buffett defined, right? As Warren Buffett defined, any company which has a unique competitive advantage will go for a very very long time, right? And this company, being into the futuristic segment, the kind of investment they have or the kind of a technical requirements which it is needed, because to supply the tanks which can withstand almost like a 150 degrees kind of an above temperatures, right, minus 150 degrees. So technically it should be advanced, and for a new player to come into the market or into that particular segment is very very difficult, right? So that is one of the very very important niche. And this company in the listed space, right, in the listed space of stock market, you don't have immediate competitors, right? You don't have immediate competitors. There are few in unlisted, but always unlisted has their own disadvantages, right? Has their own disadvantages. So in the listed space, no competitors, huge technical requirement is there for the tanks to be manufactured, because they should be thick, right? They should have a lot of glass kind of a ceiling on the external factors, right? And that glass is also a specialized glass. And we as an investors, why we need to focus, if you look at the anchor participants, who are anchor participants, like the mutual funds, right, some institutions who have purchased this during the IPO, we have a very interesting list. ICICI Prudential, SBI, HDFC, Nippon India, Axis, Kotak, right? We have almost like very big anchor investors participating in this. So that is why I do not want you to miss on this IPO. And if you see the closing date, yes, today it is closing December 18th. That's why I thought we will be discussing on this IPO. And the price band is between 627 to 660. And the lot size is 22. And if someone who is going to invest, the minimum amount, right, to be invested is 14,520 rupees, which is nothing but your lot size 22 into the closing price of the price band, or the highest price of the price band, which is 660, right, which is 660. And this issue is almost a 1,459 crores issue, right? So yes, coming to the IPO, the main reason we had a discussion is a long-term company and a futuristic business. Also, no immediate competitors. Someone who wanted to come into this segment, it's very difficult for them, because that kind of an advanced technology is mandatory, right? Is mandatory. And apart from this IPO, one more IPO which I want you to focus on is Motisons Jewelers Limited, right? Motisons Jewelers Limited. Now, sir, what is so unique about Motisons Jewelers Limited? If you have been following our earlier discussions on jewelers, right? If you have been following on earlier discussion on jewelers, there are many companies. Even recently, Vaibhav Jewelers, which is from Andhra Pradesh, Visakhapatnam, also we have discussed on the IPO related. So there is no big difference between the jewelry companies. And even yes, this company, Motisons Jewelers Limited, is a company from Jaipur, Rajasthan, right? They have a regional distribution into the retail segment. But the reason why we are discussing here is the IPO size is very, very small. And the amount which they are coming at is at a very lower amount, which is less than 100, right? So please understand the psychological difference here, right? I want you to understand the psychological difference. Whenever an IPO which is coming at a small size and the IPO amount to be applied is less than 100, psychologically there will be a lot of retail investors who will be applying for it, which means the demand is lifting up. Because of the price band of lower than 100, there is a lot of demand, right? So yes, it makes sense, right? It makes sense to apply for this IPO, considering for a listing gains, right? Considering for a listing gains. If you ask me, I would not look at it for a longer term, but yes, for the listing gains, definitely we can apply for it, right? We can apply for it, okay? And this issue would be a fresh issue, which means whatever is the money that the company is collecting or that the company is raising, which is equivalent to 151 crores, right? Which is equivalent to 151 crores is directly going into the company's development. Whereas the earlier IPO, which we looked at Inox India, that is called as an OFS, offer for share, right? Offer for sale. So offer for sale means the money is not going into the company, rather it's going for the shareholders. Existing shareholders are reducing their share and it's going to the public, right? But as it is a futuristic company, it looks good for applying even for a longer term. This, considering the lower size of the IPO, we can look at applying, right? And third, coming to the IPO details, yes, it is opening today and it is closing on December 20th, and the price band is between 52 to 55. Someone who are looking or someone who are interested in applying, do your due diligence, and if you feel yes sir, this is something wherein it fits into my investment arena and I would love to apply for it, right? Apply at the higher cutoff of the price band, which is 55 rupees, right? So minimum order is 250, so 250 into 55, approximately around 14,000 is something you need to apply, right? So let me summarize both of these IPOs, right? Let me summarize both of these IPOs. One, if you look at Inox India, considering that it is into the cryogenics and considering that it is into the futuristic segment, it makes sense to apply even for a longer time, for a longer duration. And coming to the Motisons Jewelers, because of the smaller issue and more of the demand, and even the gray market premium is demanding even more than 100% kind of a premium with respect to the present price, it makes sense to apply for it, right? It makes sense to apply for it. And yes, as we also have a post listing strategy, even in the last discussion of Tata Technologies Limited IPO, when we had an earlier discussion, even if someone who did not get the IPO allotment, how we can apply after the listing, we have discussed there, right? You can recollect that discussion or even you can go and access that particular session. So even if the IPO is not allotted to you, we will have our post listing strategy. So after listing also, we can enter into it, right? We can enter into it. Okay. So let me know below which IPO you are going to apply, or which IPO do you feel fits my requirements, sir? And I think I will apply. Even if I did not get, I will apply post IPO. And if the market scenario or if the market sentiment is good, right, for the listing gains, we can see a premium for the listing, right? So let me know in the comments which IPO you are applying, and you can even let me know what is the reason you are applying. Okay. Thank you.